Hey my loves, it is late, so I absolutely don't expect any of you to be here live with me, and I'm not going live for that reason, to just stare at my own face. But this has been a musing that's been on my heart for a couple of weeks, and something's landed through conversation with a dear soul sister. In unpacking it over the last week or so, and I just want to bring it here into this space. I was going to press record. I've been in the office later tonight getting some things done, and I was going to press record on the podcast around this topic, but it felt, I wanted you to see my eyes, I wanted you to see my face. And hello, whoever's there, you're up late with me. If you are on, ladies, say hello. I'm going to get straight into it. And yeah, I just invite you to be in this conversation with me. I would love, for this to lead to comments below. And it's around motherhood. I find it really interesting, I'm not going to watch my words. Hi, Harmony. Hi, Mandy. I find it super interesting that I'm watching my linguistics because I don't like to label things, and I think we're in a state and a climate where we can release labels to be able to return deeper to the center of ourselves. But one of the things that I've noticed in content creation industries, the new age spirituality, is this polarity around motherhood. On one hand, we have this dynamic, which is, both sides are beautiful, but I still find can be riveted in judgment. And I'm judging and saying this, so this musing, I welcome to the depths of my shadow in unpacking this conversation around motherhood. But I think it's really important to kind of lift the veil, and I know the veil of my psyche is really thin right now because the full moon in Virgo is approaching, and so too is my bleed and my next birthday. And so we have this dance of this reclamation of matriarchs, and many women still wouldn't know what that term means, and I have no judgment on that, right? So there's this recognition and acknowledgement of matriarchs. There's the understanding that through the birthing of a child is the birthing of the mother, and she goes from maiden to mother, and this beautiful feminine archetype that we have the opportunity, if we choose, to evolve through. And then we have self-care and how to care for ourselves in motherhood. And then we have relationships and how to have a thriving relationship and loving deep intimacy and connection with the partner. And we have the career and the business, and there's all these juxtapositions of identities and things that we should, or it could look like if we chose to do this or do that. And I just fear, I really fear that it then creates a capitalized environment, and I'm referring to capitalism, where we're being sold continuously that who we are in our wholeness is not enough, which is not true, right? Well, not true from my perspective. And my journey into and through motherhood, I know, is not anybody else's journey but my own. And I can't sell my journey to anybody else because it's mine. Yeah, my journey through motherhood is mine. My children have their own unique blueprint. And your children, if you're a mother, have their own unique blueprint. And how I parent my children may never work for anybody else. because each and every child is different, and what they need or require is different. And as a mother, what we feel or need or require is different too. I feel we are all stuck in this Facebook matrix. Yeah, I agree. And, you know, ironic, I'm showing up here to converse with you all inside of that matrix that I feel many of us are yearning to break free of. And yet the connections that we have, we can utilize these social platforms beautifully, but through motherhood too, it's not how I show up on or share on Instagram or Facebook that defines me as the mother that I am. What defines me as the mother that I am is who I am when my doors are closed. And, you know, I'm sitting tonight. I sat with my 11-year-old as he's 10, sorry, but he's turning 11, but I feel like sometimes he's going on 41. He has the emotional maturity that is revolutionary to this planet. And I sat with him in deep contemplation, which is why I'm here at 11 o'clock doing what I'm doing, because my presence was required with him. And I don't share that with you to be patted on the back, but I guess what I'm trying to get at is the journey of motherhood can feel and will always feel like a burden and a blessing. It is the tapestry of weaving darkness and light, and as we show up to it consciously, not performatively, then we're untangling the threads in the lineages and the psyches that we were born in and that we've birthed other children into. That can't be replicated by anybody else other than ourselves. It can be inspiring, but inspiring and then infiltrating anyone to make them feel less than, I think, are two different things, because women have been subjected to oppression for eons, and as a wave of feministic movements, we've reclaimed our voices, and dare I say, the majority of that occurred because, you know, we had to light a fire and find a way to succeed in the world in a masculine way. And there is a percentage of us that are here in these spaces that are coming back to the center of ourselves to integrate the divine masculine and feminine within ourselves, to be open to those conversations. I just wonder where we then realize that still there's a piece of entrapment when we get stuck into places of feeling not enough because we're seeing what somebody else is doing, or we're placing opinion where we don't have experience or expertise. Why we take that on as mothers, because we take that on often because it's conditioned and programmed that to seek validation and opinion outside of ourselves, right? And so I was thinking about that today, and one of the pieces of my journey has been to reclaim my own inner authority, and that is something that I will speak to in Fluorescence next week. But claiming that inner authority has meant, you know, as a mother, I am the authority of how I mother, and I wouldn't seek business advice from someone, as an example, or I wouldn't go and have got my mortgage for my home from a person that doesn't lend money. And so you don't go and get business advice from someone that hasn't gone beyond the threshold or the experience or the capacity at which you're at. You just don't do that, right? Well, I don't do that. And I think sometimes, and I see this trend infiltrating my feed, this beautiful inspiration that floods through when a mother is birthed into motherhood. And it can be leaky, because to raise a baby is different to raising a teenager. I can share my experience of motherhood and share my prophecy and prose and poetry and philosophy around it for myself. But if someone asked me for advice on how to raise their teenager, or how I cope with X, Y, and Z, how that looked when my twins were 7 weeks old and what that looks like now is different. What that will look like when all three of my children are teenaging within 18 months of one another will look very different. And I can't speak to a mother of teenagers like I know how I would be. Yeah. It's like I had this experience when I first became a mum. And this will sound, really beige. But being told to give my son a dummy and having a friend put a dummy in his mouth who had never had children. And, I didn't have the balls to tell her. I was just in shock. And then I was like, whoa, like, one, you haven't had children yet. You know nothing. And two, that's my child, And I do feel and think that level of resonance and respect can sometimes get a little bit diluted in the online environment, and what feels really powerful to share can sometimes come across as, in the wrong way. It's not trauma informed. It's not integrated. It's not the whole totality of the experience of motherhood, because my gosh, it is there's so much duality in motherhood. Yeah. It's constantly weaving through darkness and light, and these beings that we birth onto this planet, and this is not to project onto you, this is my feeling, they are whole unto themselves. And it's my prayer as a mum that I support and encourage them in their wholeness. Do I get that right every second of every day? Gosh, no, not at all. Actually, my son spoke to me tonight about, the difference in how I respond when his sisters tell him to get out of their room, or if he tells his sisters to get out of his room. And what could look like a small thing, right, was really impactful to him. And I sat there in complete humility, because he was also really right. Like, there's this fraction of a sentence or even a response time that differed between the two environments, where the expectation placed upon him was higher. And he could feel it, and he articulated that to me. And so, I said to him, whilst in the midst of this musing that's been in my head for a few weeks, dude, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm not going to get it right all of the time, but I actually really hear what you're saying, and I will work on that, Now, they're the pieces and parts of motherhood that are unseen, that are the stretch of your soul and your heart, that are the medicine and the magic to who you are as a mother, that you aren't always going to get right. Yeah. And when we've gone from looking at, magazines on how our body should look like, which I know still exists, and fashion that, for some people's bank accounts is ludicrous, to now within a social environmental world, it's not like the 50s and we're talking about the Dyson and the floor coverings. It's how we're showing up, and that we can do all of the things and be all of the things, and then also be this wholeness of who we are. And I guess the biggest point that I wanted to wrap that around in is, you know, can we please not forget the significance of the role of the mother on the planet as a full stop, end of sentence. It's completely okay to be vulnerable. Amen, sister. Mother as a role, when we consciously choose to bring life to this earth, isn't something to be scheduled. It just is. It is, well, for me, it's my deepest prayer that I love what I do. Obviously, I'm here having a chat with all of you, with you two incredible ladies and whoever watches the replay. I love creating. I know I'm an artist and a space holder at the core of who I am. I know that. But I'm fucking proud to be a mum. And my deepest prayer is that if I leave any impact on this planet at all, it's within the three of them. First and foremost, you know. And I think sometimes, even through the acknowledgement of matriarchs, and then how you can be a mum and do and be and have all the things, which I believe to be true too, there's this dilution around acknowledging the embodied role of mother. Because, well, what I know to be true in my years of being a practitioner, and is that the very core of a lot, and I won't put a percentage of that, of people's root causes is related to the mother. And so we're in this generation where I think we have to be super mindful not to be recreating that in a different way by not being present or hearing or listening to the cues of our children, and actually allowing ourselves to be super present to what they really need, and knowing that within ourselves is completely way more than enough. You know. There ain't no hood like motherhood. And for those of us in here that are mothers, you know that you chose it. We chose it. What a gift. And sure, it's hard. I've never done a harder thing in my entire life. Ever. I never will. There's nothing harder than motherhood. But the medicine it gives my heart and soul is a gift that I chose and that they chose in my being here. And yeah, I think I would love to see the dilution of that be stopped, because what I fear is that that's still creating a new age way of oppressive language. And so the deepest acknowledgement of mother still has this, well, it's not enough. You're just a mother. Well, hang on a second. The most impactful role in any human's life is a mother. No one is just a mother. Mother is, yeah. When I think as women we breathe that into every fibre and cell of our being, to be whole unto ourselves as a mother, whoa, you know? So yeah, that was amusing. That one's been moving through my cells, you know, like it's been dancing up in my skin, because I'm just, and I know it's a judgment. I know I'm judging, so I'm acknowledging that, and I have unpacked the trigger, and it's irking me because it feels like it's being capitalized, you know? And the polarity of it at times is being expressed in some ways that I've seen. And that, like I said, there's that duality, because there's the matriarchs and the nurturing of the mother. There's the looking at all pieces of motherhood and opening up those dialogues and conversations. And then there's the, you know, this is how you thrive as a mum, and how you thrive with newborns to 1-year-olds to 5-year-olds to 8-year-olds to teenagers to adults is never going to look the same. It can't look the same. And I don't think there's a baseline for that, because just like, you know, we go and get a book off the shelf and we digest it, each child is its own book with its own map and directions. And each mother who's on her own journey is untangling and healing parts of herself through that journey too. And so no two roles are the same, but whatever the role, however that role plays out, is enough, you know? So shout out to all the mamas out there. I think we are the most under-recognized power source on the planet. And when we show up to that without needing to prove ourselves, to perform, but purely to be in motherhood, that is a revolution that will generate the new generation of leaders. And I just think we have to be mindful that we're not using the Facebook and Instagram worlds like a magazine that makes people feel less than. And I say that also ensuring that I'm conscious and mindful of that in the way in which I deliver my content and share my messages. And I know I'm not responsible for how people receive that when I'm creating art. But I also feel I have a right and a responsibility to be discerning and informed how I can be perceived and received, because the world is in the experience unlike it's ever had before. And I believe to be awake means to be consciously aware, because energy speaks and it leaks and it infiltrates and it touches. And yeah, I feel complete. Thanks for hanging out with me, Mandy and Harmony. Thanks for being in this conversation. I would love to continue to unpack this. This is a total segue to what I'm talking about next week, but this is me in my rawness. So thank you for seeing me in my rawness. And it just felt, I didn't need to articulate it or re-listen to it before launching it, which I actually don't do with my podcast. I just pop them out there. But I think to be seen woman to woman, mother to mother, you know, I see you. I know it's hard. And I commend you for your grit and your courage and your resilience. I honor that you show up even on the days that you don't know how. That you give all you have and some. And in respect to being a mother, sometimes we do pour from an empty cup because we don't have a choice. And I don't believe there is anything wrong in that, because it's still a choice of love. You know? Yeah. All right. Mwah. I'm sending you all lots of love. And we'll be hanging out a bit this week. So 7:30 or 8:30 on Friday is the gathering. You can share. Yes, I'm on Insight Timer next Monday at, I'll have to check the time. But there's a live class on Insight Timer next Monday. And then next Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, post full moon and post leaning into the autumn and shifting of the seasons, equinox, solstice. I always forget whether it's an equinox or a solstice. Anyway, on the other side of that, you can come hang out with me in Fluorescence. We will have 3 nights together. If you can't catch the night, there'll be replays and supporting material for you from that. But this is just a segue conversation because it was on my heart, and you know, I just want to see more humanness in the world. I want to see more realness. I want to see less performance and more real. You know, it's the human in you that inspires me. Your heart and soul is part of your human, but you're human. You know, we're here on this earth for a reason. Our feet can get in the ocean and kiss the dirt because we're human. And so I want to just show up in my humanness to connect with you tonight. So thanks for being here with me, and I'll see you all soon.